this side of things, running this thing. I've been the number two man, but I've never been the number one man. And so this is going to be quite interesting because usually when I get going, I don't focus on anything else. And so now I've got to focus. So no distractions, please. That's going to be very hard. But we want to welcome everybody online. And as you can tell tonight, that I am not the normal speaker, that I have taken over. I've hijacked Wednesday night service. And tonight it's a legendary takeover. Pastor Rick's on vacation, and I know that he's probably watching. And so we hope that you are resting and that the kids are not driving you insane. But tonight, I know that y'all have been in the book of Exodus. And you were supposed to be on chapter 21 or 20? 21? All right, somewhere. All right. Well, I interrupt your weekly program of Exodus, and I'm going to pull back the curtain for you on what we've been talking about on Wednesday nights. And so before I begin, for those watching online, this week we are celebrating all our students that are moving up for Move Up Sunday, so you don't want to miss that. Sunday night we have a youth rally in Huffman starting at 6 o'clock. And for those that have youth kids, we're going to be meeting here at 4 and then headed over there for open gym. And then on the 17th, we have Baptism Sunday, which we are so excited about that people have decided to declare their faith publicly through water baptisms. And so it is going to be a great couple weeks. And so for those that have not been in youth, all right, we started a brand new series last week entitled You Are Not. And so this whole series is about words or phrases that we hear, and especially students have heard, has been spoken over their life, right? That words are powerful. Right? There's words that give you hope in life. There's other words that will tear you down, leaving wounds that you may not show people, or can't be seen by other people. Perhaps the most dangerous words are the ones that sound good on the outside, but they quietly damage our souls over time. You see, we live in a world that's overflowing with quick phrases. I talked about in youth last week about catchphrases. Anybody got a catchphrase in here? Go ahead, Amber. I don't think so, Tim, right? The students couldn't think of any catchphrases but I said, hey, what's the slogan for McDonald's? And of course, they all knew it. So we live in a world that has catchphrases or slogans, and that's meant to, when I go to McDonald's and I hear that phrase, I'm loving it, all right, what am I hoping, what is McDonald's hoping that my experience is? That I'll love it. And for many of us, we say we do not love McDonald's. But it's any slogan or catchphrase is meant to inspire, it's meant to encourage and affirm their product. But not everything that sounds good is good. You see, over time, culture has created their own catchphrases. They've created their own slogans. And it has blended truth and falsehood so smoothly that as believers, we can be confused about what feels comfortable and what is biblically correct. Confusion has consequences. And so last week we talked about in youth that you are not perfect. You see, because we've all heard the saying, maybe when we were children growing up, we were having difficulties completing a task, or we ourselves, but we've probably all heard, hey, you're perfect just the way that you are. We probably all have heard that saying. And on the outside, that sounds like a great saying. It's encouraging, it's affirming, it's inspiring us. But I want to let you know that the Bible never calls us perfect. But what he does call us is his masterpiece. So just because it was meant to encourage and inspire us doesn't make that phrase biblically correct. And as Christians, right, we probably shouldn't be letting that speak to our souls and our hearts because the world has blended truth and false so well. And so tonight we're going to talk about another saying. And for my older people here tonight, you've probably never heard this saying, or you've just started to hear this saying. And that saying is own your truth. And in one sense, it's good. Owning your truth, when you hear that phrase, what it means is that you're being honest, that you're being real, you're not pretending. But if we're not careful, owning our truth can become excusing our sin. Because it's great, because when we own our truth, we need to really put up a stop sign when we hear that phrase, when own your truth becomes, this is just who I am, and so you can take it or you can leave it. We need to put up a stop sign when we hear own your truth, when it becomes, hey, I don't need to change how I am. You see, when we need to put up a stop sign, when we hear that own your truth, when it becomes, hey, God has to love me just the way that I am. So why should I try? You see, we cross a line. We stop growing, we stop repenting, and we stop becoming more like Jesus. And so I have a discussion question to start off tonight. Have you ever had a day that was just a mess? How many of us would just say yes? Today, as I was sitting in my classroom, everything went to a mess, and I had a mental breakdown today. And I had to text Jess and say, I can't do this. I don't know what I'm doing. And Jess was like, yes, you do. You're fine. And so I had to go and get a Diet Coke, and then I was fine. But, so, we can all say that we've had a day that looks just like a mess. And so for me, right, for my mess today, I wanted to shed some tears. So what does your messy day look like? Anybody in here want to be vulnerable and say, what does your messy day look like? Amber?
Thursday, I was supposed to take off at 8:30, didn't take off until 10:30, and so I missed my connecting flight and ended up stuck in the Denver airport for 8 hours. So that was
Oh. All right, Donna?
My husband yesterday had two flat tires. Trying to figure out how to get the car home where it was currently at 59. So finally we were walking to the gas station. They got us a tow truck right there. I walked up to them. How much you charge us to tow my car home? Oh, $1,200. I'm like, okay, I put it in $375. So we went over and picked it up. They put the donut on it, and it was today. That God was opening up Sergio's heart to not drink beer, so we could tire and get everything going on the car. The car's back running.
That's good. And so when our life turns into a mess, as Donna said, that mentioned, sometimes we want to go back to those old things that kind of, held us at one point in time. We've all waken up, not just physically, but emotionally tired, right? Maybe you overslept and now you're late for work. You spilled something on your shirt. Maybe you, for my teenage, those that are in college in here, maybe you forgot an assignment. Maybe you had a fight with somebody that you cared about, and you tried to shake it off, but it just keeps on piling on. When we're in that kind of state of mind where our day is just a mess, it seems like things just get stuffed on pile on top of things, and it never really stops. And so maybe it was a sideways comment that cut deeper than maybe it should. Maybe you feel invisible, irritable. Maybe you're just off. You're just saying, I don't know what it is about today, but I'm just off today. You see, nothing seems to go right, and by the end of the day, You're sitting there and you're wondering, what is wrong with me? You see, sometimes those messy days aren't even loud or dramatic. When I have to work on my vehicle, that is when I become an outward child. And by what that I mean is that my fit comes from inside to outward, and I'm kicking the tire and I'm throwing things, right? And that's loud and dramatic. But a lot of times our messes aren't that way. They're quiet. You walk through numb, you walk through disconnected, you're stuck in your head, you feel like you're carrying something heavy that no one wants to help you with. And in those moments, it's easy to believe a lie that your value depends on how together you seem. But here's the truth, that God sees you on your worst day, and he doesn't even flinch. He's not disappointed. He's not distant. For some of us, when we have a messy days, right? When I'm irritable, when I'm prickly as a cactus, as I like to say, right? Jess is like, I'm just going to back up slowly from you, and you can just have your time because I know I'll just make it worse, right? But God doesn't do that. He doesn't distance himself. He's present, he's patient, and he's full of love, even when you feel like a disaster. You see, one of the best examples of this comes in the book of 1 Kings chapter 19. And it's Elijah, the prophet Elijah. And he had just experienced this huge spiritual win on Mount Carmel. He called down fire from heaven, proving that the Lord was the one and true God in front of all of Israel. But right afterwards, Jezebel threatens to kill him. And he completely unravels. Look at what he says in verse 2. This is what he says in verse 2. What Jezebel says in verse 2, sorry. May the gods punish me and do so severely if I don't make your life like the life of one of them by this time tomorrow, talking about the dead prophets. And so she's basically telling Elijah, hey, by this time tomorrow, you're dead. And even though Elijah just had this massive experience and he had experienced a major victory, one threat sends him down into this downward spiral of fear, anxiety, and hopelessness. You see, Elijah then he runs away into the wilderness. He's exhausted, he's anxious, he's depressed. He tells God in verse 4 that I've had enough. This is too much for me to handle. Just kill me. I'm done with this. It's over. But Elijah's brutally honest. He's honest. He tells God exactly how he feels in that moment. And so we see Elijah in chapter 19. He is owning his truth. He's open. He's honest about how he's feeling. He's not hiding, right? He's not Adam and Eve hiding in the garden. He's not hiding from God. He just runs in the wilderness and finds a cave. He isn't pretending to be okay, right? He doesn't tell God, oh, I'm fine. Everything's perfect. He's a prophet, right? But he's also a man who's emotionally wrecked. He's spiritually drained, and he's ready to give up. And guess what? God doesn't walk away from that. He doesn't distance himself from Elijah because he's having a bad day. God leans in. He gets closer. And so my first point tonight is that even when you are in a whole mood, he still loves me. You see, for all my 30 and up people in the room, in a whole mood means that you are feeling big emotions and that everybody can see it. You see, Elijah was in a whole mood under that tree. He was frustrated. He was dramatic, exhausted, done with life. We can imagine Elijah, and he said, I've had enough, Lord, take my life. You see, parents, haven't you heard your children storm off in a fit that says, it's not fair? And they go to their area, they go to their room, they slam the door, right? And then you say, you don't slam my door in my house, and then you take it off the hinges like my parents did, right? And then you don't have a door. But we've seen all our children throw a fit. I can imagine Elijah throwing that type of fit. He's moping around and he flops under that tree. And he's throwing a 2-year-old fit, as my mom would say. This is a man that had just called down fire from heaven. He's a prophet. He's a leader. But in this moment, he did not feel powerful. He felt pitiful. And he didn't fake it. He told God exactly how he felt. You see, we've been there. We've been had days where we're not our best self. We're overwhelmed. We're anxious. We're short-tempered. And we're sad. And for some of us, we're sad for no reason at all. We just feel sad. When somebody says, hey, what's wrong? I don't know. I don't know why I'm sad. I don't know why I'm crying. You see, maybe when people ask you, hey, what's going on? You snap right back and you say things that you regret. You cry over stuff that usually wouldn't bother you. And emotionally, you're just all over the place. You're in a whole mood. And the question creeps in, could God really love me like this? And here's the truth. Your mood swings do not cancel the King's love. He doesn't cancel you because you're falling apart. He doesn't say, come back when you pull it all together. Right? Sometimes when my wife is in a thing, I'm like, you just come see me when you're all done with all of this. Right? But God doesn't do that. He doesn't say, hey, come back when you've got it all together. You see, he didn't do that to Elijah. God responded with care, not condemnation. In verse number 5, it says, suddenly an angel touched him. And the angel told him to get up and eat. You see, God let Elijah rest. He gave him food. He let him recover. And then he met him again in a whisper, not a storm, but a whisper. You see, that's love. Not because Elijah earned it. Elijah didn't earn God's love, but because that's who God is. You see, God loves the real you, the unfiltered, the unedited, the raw, I'm not okay version of you. Even when you're in a whole mood, he still shows up, he still loves you, and he still has a plan for your life. You see, so discussion question, why do you think sometimes we feel like we have to be all put together for God to love us? Why do we sometimes feel like we have it all together for God to love us? Anybody want to chime in on that? Mm-hmm. Sister Maggard's saying that God is a God, and sometimes we know that we'll never live up to that, and so we're hesitant to come to him in things. Anybody else? Go ahead, Amber. All right, Amber says we're used to societal standards. Anybody else? You see, sometimes we feel the pressure of having it all together because of the world around us, just like Amber said. And even in the church. You see, culture tells us that we have to look the part. You see, I told the youth group last week, God doesn't want your highlight reel. He never wants you to not show weakness. And you see, social media has made it way worse for our students and for our children. And it's easy for our students and for our children to compare their real life with someone else's filtered life. And that goes for, our young adults here as well. And guess what? AI, and I'm not going to preach against AI or for AI, but AI has made it even worse. We thought just social media made it worse. But AI has now stepped up and taken it to another level. Because you have no idea the picture that you see, the videos that you see, whether they are real or whether they're fake. And so it's so easy for us to compare our real life with somebody's fake life. Even in the church setting. It can feel like everyone else is doing fine We see people raising their hands in worship. We see people that come through the door and we're in a whole moon, and the first person that greets us has a giant smile on their face, ready to hug you when you're not in a hugging mood, right? We see that. And so then what do? We fake a smile. We hug them back. We hide our struggle, thinking if I show them the real me, I'll be judged or I'll be disqualified. And so that pressure builds until you start believing that God must feel the same way. If his followers feel the same way, then God, or I feel like if the followers feel that way, then maybe God feels that way. And all that person ever did was smile and want a hug. But because you've been in a whole mood, life has gotten you down, you start believing, hey, that's how I should act. That I should act fake, and maybe that's how God wants me to act. And so the pressure builds up, and you start believing that God wants to distance himself, and maybe he's disappointed, or he's waiting for you to clean up yourself first. But guess what? The heart of God isn't religion. You see, religion says, follow the rules, and maybe you'll be accepted. Here's a whole long list of rules that you have to follow that we know it's impossible to follow. That's religion. Follow these rules and you might be accepted. But a relationship says that you are already loved. Now let's walk through life together. And that's kind of my second point tonight, that there isn't an audition needed. You already have the part. You see, in our world, everything feels like a tryout. We try to wear the right brand. We try to say the right things. We try to post the perfect picture. We feel the feeling pressure to prove ourselves at work, like you're only valuable as much as your productivity. Maybe you're comparing other people, or your marriage to everyone else's, comparing your marriage to everyone else's, and you're believing that one instance might ruin your image, an opportunity, or how people see you. You see, the pressure doesn't stop in this world. You see, we often carry it into our relationship with God. We think if we just pray more, if we serve more, if we give more, if we behave better, if we look more spiritual, if we look like we have it all together, maybe we'll be worthy of his love and his purpose. You see, we treat God like a casting director. Am I good enough yet? Do I have the part? Did I earn the role? Did I earn the role of worship pastor? Did I earn the role of teacher? Did I earn this role at my work? Right? Am I good enough yet? But with God, there's no audition required. Guess what? He's already picked you. Not for your perfection, not but because of his love. You're not on a trial basis. You're not on probation. You're not God's backup plan. You've already got the part. He already calls you his child. You see, Elijah thought his meltdown disqualified him, and he ran into a cave convinced that his story was over. But God didn't fire him. He didn't say, Elijah, guess what? You threw a fit. You threw a 2-year-old fit. You're fired. You're not going to be my prophet any longer. Let's find somebody else. But he met him in the whisper. He reminded Elijah who he was, and he gave him his next assignment. So is there something tonight that you're hoping that God will give you? And do you feel like you have to be perfect to get it? Is there something in your life that you want, desire, right? You're praying for, you're pleading for, that for God to give it to you, but you have to feel perfect to get it. I'm here tonight to tell you that you don't have to earn what God already wants to give you. You just have to receive it. You don't have to audition for God. You already have the part. He's not waiting for you to be flawless. He's just waiting for you to be real with him. But here's the problem. A lot of us are still performing. We're still editing ourselves. We're still filtering our emotions. We're still hiding the parts we think God and others won't accept. We come to God like we come to Instagram or Facebook. right? Or TikTok, right? With a highlight reel. All the good stuff. We were at camp, and Jason had been practicing a backflip all week. And by the end of the week, perfect backflip. He landed it perfect. I could never do it, so I applaud him. And so a lot of people saw that backflip, and they were applauding him, and they were saying, oh, so cool. But they did not see what I saw the first day. When Jason tried the backflip, and he landed on his face, and he ate the pillow. And so that's a lot of us. We try to give everybody our highlight reel, the best of us, a polished caption, and a carefully chosen filter. But God's not trying to bless your filter. He's trying to heal the real you. So point number 3 tonight, and my last point, is take the filter off. You see, we live in a filter-heavy world. On social media, you can blur your skin, you can brighten your smile, you can hide the mess of your hair behind a crop photo. You see, my wife is the world's worst. I cannot take a picture and just take one. I've got to take 15. And some of my young adults in the house that have grown up in my youth group are just as bad. Right? Right, girls? Take 15 photos. And I'm like, I just started taking the phone and saying, I'm taking the picture 1, 2, 3. And how you look is how you're posted. So get it right first. Right? But we've started every day of our lives over-filtering our pictures. And that has leaked into filtering our lives. We filter our faith. We filter our emotions. We filter our struggle. And we show God and people the parts that we think are acceptable, and we try to hide everything else. But here's the truth. God doesn't bless your image. He heals your honesty. Look at Elijah. He didn't come to God polished. He came tired, scared, dramatic, and ready to give up. There was no filter. He wasn't pretending. It was just raw honesty under that broom tree. You see, that's not exactly a churchy prayer, but it was real. And that's what God responded to. God didn't say, fix your attitude, and then we'll talk. He sent an angel. He met Elijah in his weakness. And later he showed up not in the fire. He didn't show up in the earthquake or the wind, but a whisper. Why? Because God's voice speaks more clearly when we've taken the filter off our lives and we've quieted our performance. You see, if you want to hear God clearly, if you want to feel his presence deeply, and if you want to grow spiritually, the first step is honesty. Not just praying right, not just having this great prayer, but praying real, being honest. So my last discussion question before we wind down tonight. What is one thing in your life that you've gotten so good at filtering? Maybe it's your smile, your emotions, maybe some trials in your life, some temptations, right? So we talked about Elijah, a prophet who had a breakdown, threw a 2-year-old fit, just plumped himself under a tree and in a cave and said, this is not fair, God. I was just your instrument in this great miracle, and that has caused me for this lady to want to kill me. See, he didn't give God a highlight reel. He was real, he was raw. But even in his worst moment, God didn't walk away. God leaned in. You see, let's be honest. And so this is my you are not. Last week it was you are not perfect. This week is you are not always lovable. You are not always lovable to other people. But are loved by God. So here's the challenge tonight. Stop trying to filter your faith. Stop auditioning for approval. Stop hiding the parts of you that Jesus already died for and to redeem. So this week, be honest with God. Tell him when you're not okay. Let him love you through it. Whether you're in a cave like Elijah, maybe you're under a tree, or you're just having a bad day, you're sitting in your feelings, and you're a complete mess. Know that God sees you. He still speaks to you, and he still wants to use you. Bow your heads with me tonight. Lord, thank you for that we don't have to earn your love. Lord, thank you for seeing the real us. Not the filtered version, not the version that we want everybody to see, not our highlight reel, but you, Lord, the real us. And guess what? You're still choosing us. Lord, forgive us for the times that we've tried to hide our struggle or fake our strength. Help us be honest with you and to find rest in your presence. Remind us, like Elijah, that our worst moments, they don't disqualify us. Lord, you're not going to fire us. You're not going to replace us, Lord, but you meet us in those very places. You meet us in our mess. Lord, whisper to us this week. Give us peace, purpose, and the courage to take the filter off. In Jesus' name, amen. Anybody have any closing remarks before we end tonight?
Dave, I wanted to give a testimony. Richard went today for chemo, and they always do blood work prior to the chemo. And they're like already posting it immediately. I don't know how they do it, but they do. And there was one particular number that I talked to some of you about that was extremely high, like in the atmosphere. Need to come down. Well, from 2 weeks ago, it's came down like 3,000 points.
Wow.
So I pray
Praise
for
Lord.
because that marker is a very scary marker that we don't even want to talk about. So keep praying with us, please. Don't forget every day because he is working. It is coming down.
Amen.
It's coming down a lot more, but it's not going up. It's coming down. So I thank you for your prayers, and y'all keep praying for him every day.
All right, everybody have a great week, and we will see you Sunday for Move Up Sunday. Lord be with us. Those watching online, thank you so much for joining us. You have a great week as well.